The first half of the 2025 MLB season is over, and it was a great half in my opinion, with many storylines and many twists and turns. So I wanted to look back and give one word for every MLB team that describes their first half of 2025. But before the video starts, if you find yourself enjoying the video at any point, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out a lot, and I don't ask for that often, but over 95% of my viewers are not subscribed, so do it to help me out, and then I don't have to ask as much. Let's get into the video. The Baltimore Orioles. Disappointing. The Orioles started their season 19-36. And from there, it was pretty much over for an incredibly disappointing season for Baltimore. Every pitcher on the roster that has over 6 starts has an ERA over 4.2, and 3 of the 5 have ERAs over 5. I wouldn't say this is super shocking, however, because the Orioles decided to let Corbin Burnes walk, and instead of replacing him, they decided to use their bad pitchers, and shocker, it didn't work. They're also 22nd in the league in runs scored, and they'll probably have to trade Cedric Mullins and Ryan O'Hearn at the trade deadline, which is only going to make them worse. They are the 3rd worst team in the American League in the first half of the 2025 season, and I just don't know how it's going to improve in the second half. Either way, this has been an extremely disappointing start to the season. The New York Yankees. Same. The Yankees made it to the World Series in the American League last year, and they feel like they are very similar to last year's team, and I don't necessarily mean that in a good way. Aaron Boone still seems to be causing issues with bullpen moves and overall confidence within the organization, and the Yankees are in another early summer collapse, where they had a huge lead in the AL East, and then lost their lead to the Blue Jays, and even now are just 1 game ahead of the Boston Red Sox after their disaster start to the season. There have been many injuries to the pitching staff. Aaron Judge carries the offense to having elite numbers, however, the offense wouldn't be that great without him, and some new Yankees have been good like Cody Bellinger and Max Fried, but that hasn't stopped the team from improving too much. This team could end up back in the World Series, or they could continue to slip, but the first half of this season feels like much of the same compared to last year for the Yankees. The Tampa Bay Rays. Healthy. A team that is normally injured year after year has stayed relatively healthy this year, and it has allowed them to play above what they were expected to be in the first half of the season. Since the beginning of July, the Rays have started to slip quite a bit and are going into the All-Star break extremely cold after getting swept in 4 games to the Boston Red Sox. But the pitching staff has been surprisingly healthy, like the most healthy they can really be. Shane McClanahan, however, still hasn't touched the field yet after getting injured in spring training, but the 5 starters that have touched the field have not missed a single start, which is crazy for a team that usually sustains countless injuries, especially in the pitching staff. Their stadium might be on the IL, but the rest of the team has not been. Of course, the day I'm writing this script, Brandon Lau ends up on the IL, but overall this team has been very healthy, all things considered. The Toronto Blue Jays. Dream. Everything has gone great for the Blue Jays, and this is a bit of a dream season for them. Every plan that they had during the offseason has worked out for the most part, and this is definitely how they envisioned it going in their dreams. Alejandro Kirk is back to being an all-star, Ernie Clement is breaking out, Addison Barger looks like the real deal, and even guys like Miles Straw and Andres Jimenez have decided they're going to be competent baseball players once again. The one thing that hasn't gone well was the Anthony Santander contract. Santander has been awful with the Jays, but that just hasn't mattered. He's only hit 6 homers in 50 games before getting injured and batting under 200, but it really just hasn't mattered. They've still been really good. Jeff Hoffman and Bowden Francis also have been less than what the Blue Jays would have hoped for, but with a 55-41 record, this is still a dream situation for the Blue Jays. They're in first place. The Boston Red Sox. Worth it. This might be 2 words, but it's the only way to describe the Red Sox season. The Red Sox season was absolutely miserable throughout the entire first half, up until the last 10 games of the first half, where the Red Sox went on a 10-game winning streak and jumped into 2nd place in the wildcard standings, and have gotten within 3 games of the Blue Jays in the AL East. I just can't only use one word. It was just worth it at the end of the day, because the Red Sox are 8 games over 500 heading into the break, and that is really good for them. The Red Sox Sox have done everything in the first half realistically, from trading Rafael Devers, the face of their franchise, to extending their ace of the future before he looked like a true Cy Young candidate, from going on 10-game winning streaks, 6-game losing streaks, losing their first baseman to a season-ending injury, losing Alex Bregman for 43 games. Just about everything that could have happened to the Red Sox has happened. But you know what? Heading into the All-Star break, the Red Sox ended up in a good spot, and it was all worth it so far this season. The bullpen is top 10 in ERA, the rotation is solid, and the offense is one of the deepest lineups the Red Sox have seen in recent years, with Cedar Rafaela and Wilyer Abreu breaking out in a major way. The Detroit Tigers, perfect. Could things have gone better for the Detroit Tigers this season? No, that's why I'm calling their first half perfect. The division race is over, they're 10 games above second place, and they're likely going to be the 1 seed in the American League, as they have 4 more wins than anyone else in the league. The Tigers started 38-20 and continued staying more than 20 games over 500 for the entire rest of the first half. I mean, literally everything has gone right for this team. Even Javier Baez turned around his career, and he's an all-star in 2025. Zach McKinstry is also an all-star, Riley Green is another all-star, and even Spencer Torkelson has broken out with over 20 homers. They signed Gleyber Torres in the offseason, and guess what? He's an all-star. Tarek Skubal is gonna win another Cy Young. Casey Mize has broken out, and he's an all-star with a sub-3 ERA. It's all just been perfect for the Tigers. People thought they might fall off in 2025, but instead they took a major step forward, and it's going to be extremely tough in the American League to beat them. The Kansas City Royals, off. Something just feels off with the Royals. After an incredible breakout season in 2024 for the Royals, where they made the postseason, things have not gone right in 2025. Well, they did throughout the first 50 games when they started 28-23. However, they're going into the break 4 games under 500, and the guys just didn't look right. They do have a couple of guys on the roster that have had good seasons. Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez have been a two-headed monster at the back of the bullpen. Seth Lugo, Chris Bubich, and Noah Cameron have also been great out of the rotation. Bobby Witt Jr. and Maikel Garcia have both been awesome position players, but the rest of the team has been pretty bad. Hunter Renfroe was so bad that he got cut. Salvador Perez and Jonathan India both have negative WAR seasons up to this point, which has led them to scoring the second least runs in all of Major League Baseball. The offense is bad, and the rest of the team just feels off. That's it. The Cleveland Guardians, lacking. The Guardians are a lacking baseball team because they don't have talent. Apart from superstars Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez, there just isn't any star power on this team whatsoever. The only pitcher on the entire staff with a sub-3 ERA was DFA'd and then cut by the team for some reason. Even Emmanuel Clase, Cade Smith, and Hunter Gaddis, who were phenomenal in 2024, now have all been solid, but none of them have a sub-3 ERA. Outside of Kwan and Ramirez, no one on the team is batting above 250. None of them have an OPS plus over 100, meaning that none of them are even league average hitters. And like I said, the pitching isn't even that great. They're 26th in the league in runs scored and 17th in the league in ERA. They're not above average on either side of the baseball, and that's because they don't have talent. The Chicago White Sox, penultimate. Penultimate means that the White Sox are not last. They might be second to last place. The White Sox, they're not the worst team in baseball. They're still awful, but they are not the worst, and that's all that matters. The White Sox have just one player on the roster with an above 100 OPS plus, and that is Mike Tauchman, who has only played 43 games. And no one on the pitching staff other than Steven Wilson and Adrian Hauser have been really good. But we knew that they would suck coming into the season. That wasn't even a question. The White Sox are 21st in ERA, which is actually an improvement from last season, and they're 28th in runs scored, hilariously, is also an improvement from last season, since they were 30th in the league last year. But hey, they aren't last in the league, that's an improvement, they're penultimate. The Minnesota Twins, streaky. The Twins started the season 13-20 before going on a 13-game win streak to put them back into a wild card spot. and then they immediately went 11-22 following the win streak. That is insanely streaky. Since that terrible stretch, they've been playing .500 baseball, and they look like they're pretty much out of the AL playoff picture realistically, with just a 9.1% chance of making the playoffs according to Baseball Reference. This team is just simply streaky, and a lot of it has to do with the streaky players like Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, and Royce Lewis being the stars of this team. The Texas Rangers, reversed. The Rangers season is reversed of what it should be. This offense was supposed to be one of the best in baseball, and the pitching staff was supposed to be a major problem. But somehow the exact opposite has happened in Texas. The Rangers have the best ERA in baseball by quite a bit, and the bullpen has been awesome. Chris Martin, Holby Milner, and Robert Garcia have all been incredible in the back end of the bullpen, and the rotation has been just as good. With the Rangers getting vintage Jacob deGrom back, Nathan Eovaldi has a 1.6 ERA, and Tyler Mahle of all people is having one of the best pitching seasons in baseball. Things have just gone incredibly well for the pitching staff. The offense has been a different story though. The Rangers are just 23rd in runs scored. They really struggled on that side of the baseball. I just can't believe that this is the way the season is played out. It's completely reversed. The Los Angeles Angels. Fine. The Angels have been fine. They're 17th in runs scored and 26th in ERA, but they're just 2 games below .500 and somewhat fighting for a playoff spot still, which is pretty crazy because no one expected them to make the playoffs. Guys like Zach Neto and Yusei Kikuchi have been very good for the Angels, but there just isn't a ton to say about this team. They've been fine but nothing special, but who expected them to be special? The Seattle Mariners, confused. They're supposed to be one of the best rotations of all time, but they haven't even really been good. They are 16th in ERA as a team, and the offense that was supposed to be really bad is actually good. They're 9th in runs scored, so they're kind of like the Walmart version of the Rangers. They're reversed. The Mariners are also confused because they don't really understand that they're supposed to hit the baseballs, as they strike out a ton, but they also walk a ton and they homer. But most of the home runs are because of their catcher, who also seems to be confused. Cal Raleigh must not realize he's doing something that is truly historic with his power production, not only from a catcher, but anyone in the American League's history. He's on pace to demolish the single-season home run record for the AL. Again, as a catcher. That's not how that's supposed to work. He's confusing, and the Mariners are confusing. The Houston Astros. Inevitable. It's official, the Astros will never be bad for the rest of the history of Major League Baseball. This team lost Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman and said, "We do not care. We will continue to win anyway because Cam Smith is going to go nuclear and Isaac Paredes can hit 20 homers into the Crawford boxes every single month." They're just a little confusing because they're only 15th in runs scored, but they are 5th in team ERA. So they aren't scoring too much, but they're pitching very well, which I guess isn't that surprising. It doesn't matter what their roster is, it's clear that they're going to be a good baseball team no matter what for a very long time with the way that they can lose talent and just replace it like it's nothing. It's incredibly impressive. The Athletics failed. The Athletics failed what they thought they were going to be this year. They spent some money and actually tried for once, and things just kind of got worse for the A's. Their rookie Jacob Wilson is awesome, but the rest of the offense is just okay, as they're 18th in runs scored. But they play at the minor league park where the ball flies almost as much as Colorado, and because of that, the pitching is 28th in baseball. Just look at Luis Severino's splits to know how bad this place really is for pitching. Severino has a 3.02 ERA on the road and a 6.68 ERA at home. The ball flies at the park, so the offense not even being league average is pretty disappointing to say the least. They've had some breakouts, but overall, the record is a failure so far. The Philadelphia Phillies. Dominant. The Phillies are good, shocker, blah blah, it doesn't matter because they're good, which everyone knew. The rotation is unbelievable. Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez might be the two most underrated pitchers in all of baseball, and Zach Wheeler is having the best season of his potential Hall of Fame career. They also traded for Jesus Luzardo, who is also incredible. They're just a dominant team, and year after year, they're incredibly tough to beat. The Atlanta Braves, nightmare. I cannot believe how bad things have gone for the Atlanta Braves, who I personally thought were going to find their way back into the NLCS and really making a push to be the best team in the National League. However, the exact opposite has happened because basically everyone on the roster has either underperformed or regressed. The Braves have somehow been worse than the Miami Marlins. Are you kidding me? The Braves are 24th in runs scored as an offense, which is insane when you look at the offense on paper, and 15th in team ERA. They've been terrible overall. Ronald Acuna Jr., Matt Olson, and Sean Murphy have all been awesome, but Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, and Marcell Ozuna have all taken massive steps backwards. They've dealt with many injuries to the pitching staff as well, which hurts them, and even more regression down in the bullpen, like Raisel Iglesias, who's struggling this season. It's just been an absolute nightmare season for the Atlanta Braves. The New York Mets, advantage. The Mets are a very good baseball team at home, and not good on the road at all. Overall, the Mets are 13 games over 500, but they are 6 games below 500 on the road, which would make them 19 games over at home. Their advantage is the home field advantage. They had a phenomenal start on the pitching side, where they were by far the best team in team ERA. However, it started to slide just a little bit, and now they are 4th best in team ERA. They're also 14th in runs scored, but the pitching staff has carried the team, and they've been one of the best teams in baseball. There isn't much more to say about this first half. They've played incredible at home and bad on the road, and that's going to be an interesting trend to follow in the second half. The Miami Marlins. Okay? The Marlins are playing okay baseball, especially as of late. They were 15 games below 500, now they're only 7 games under less than a month later. They've actually somehow been a better offensive team than a pitching team, which is shocking because the pitching staff actually looks good on paper, and the offense is, well, it doesn't look great, but it's been solid. They've enjoyed breakouts from Augustin Ramirez and Kyle Stowers. The pitching staff has been bad though, like I said, and I think overall, the Miami Marlins are significantly better than I expected them to be heading into the season, but they haven't really been a good team at all. But they've had an okay season because no one expected them to be good. The Washington Nationals, rebuilding. After a 4-game winning streak to end the month of May, the Nationals were looking pretty solid as a baseball team, just 2 games under 500 at 28-30. But then after that, they've absolutely fallen apart to a genuinely concerning degree. They're sitting at just a 38-58 record, meaning they've gone 10-28 over their last 38 games, and really struggled on the pitching side of the ball. The team is 29th in the league in ERA, even with breakouts from James Wood and continued success from CJ Abrams. The issue is the rest of the team has been bad. They're just a rebuilding team, giving lots of young guys long leashes to see what they have for the future. They fired their general manager and manager as well, so they're really looking to commit to this rebuild right now. They have some of the right pieces, but they really need to add some of the right veterans to supplement the talent. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Score. This is something that the Pirates just cannot do. They're so bad at scoring, and it's costing their generational pitcher a ridiculous amount of wins. Paul Skeens is 2-6 over his last 15 starts, and if you still use wins and losses for a pitcher to say that a pitcher is good or not, I'm gonna need you to stop for this reason right here. Skeens has a 1.71 ERA over that 15-game stretch, and if you don't know simple stats, that's really good. The Pirates just refuse to score for him, which is the reason why he loses, not because he's bad whatsoever. They're actually dead last in runs scored, 30th in baseball, the worst team in the league at scoring runs, which is the way that you're meant to win a game of baseball. So I can't really say much more than that. Start scoring and maybe trade Skeens because you're wasting his prime. The St. Louis Cardinals. surprising. The Cardinals aren't in first place or anything like that, but they truly have surprised me this season. I went into the year thinking that this was one of the worst teams in MLB, and it was a huge mistake for them to have not traded Nolan Arenado and Ryan Helsley and start their rebuild. However, the Cardinals are actually 4 games above 500 heading into the break. That might not be the greatest record of all time, and I agree with you if you're saying that, but they've been surprising, mainly due to how solid the offense has been this year for them. I really thought that they would be a bottom of the barrel offense, but they're sitting at 10th in runs scored, and I'm just overall really surprised and impressed by that number. They've done really well, even if they're sitting 3rd place in their division. The Chicago Cubs, breakout. The Cubs are the team of the breakout, and no one is breaking out more in Major League Baseball than Pete Crow Armstrong. PCA has been so good, he might beat Shohei Ohtani in the NL MVP race, which would be absolutely unreal because he's pitching again. But Pete isn't the only player that's breaking out in a big way. Seiya Suzuki has always been good throughout his career, but this year he leads the league in RBIs. Michael Busch has been one of the best hitters in MLB for the Cubs this year, and Matthew Boyd has built on a solid 2024 season and became a first-time All-Star at the age of 34 in 2025. There have been countless breakouts for the Cubs in 2025, and it has led them to first place in their division and one of the best offenses in baseball. The Cincinnati Reds, average. The Reds have been one of the more average baseball teams in the league in 2025, and I don't really mean that in a bad way. They are absolutely still in the wild card race. They're right there. They're just 2.5 games back in the wild card standings, and they have some star players that just need to start breaking out a little bit more. Elly De La Cruz and TJ Friedl have been the only 2 position players that have an above 1 WAR, so the rest of the offense is just meh or bad. The pitching has been just below league average, and the offense has been just above league average. So unsurprisingly, the team has a 50-47 record, which is just slightly above average. This is just an average team with a couple of superstar players, but again, there's nothing wrong with that. If a few guys break out in the second half and Hunter Green gets healthy and comes back strong, this team could easily find their way into the postseason. The Milwaukee Brewers, shocking. The Brewers have absolutely shocked me this year. I cannot believe how good they've been over the last 45 to 50 games. On May 24th, the Brewers were sitting at a 25-28 record, and since then, they've gone nuclear. They've gone 30-12 since that time, which is by far the best record in baseball over that stretch. They've had an 8-game winning streak and are heading into the All-Star break on another 7-game winning streak. This team has been shockingly good with a 56-40 record overall. They are just 1 game back of the Cubs for the division lead. The Brewers are 7th overall in runs scored and 7th in team ERA, and they've been playing the good defense with the good base running that the Brewers always have. The way that this team is able to win year after year while losing talent and not spending too much money like the Tampa Bay Rays is just extremely impressive. I'm shocked with how they've turned around their season. The Los Angeles Dodgers, expected. The Dodgers are a great baseball team, and everyone knew that they were going to be. This is just extremely expected. It's also been expected that the entire pitching staff got injured, because this is the Los Angeles Dodgers, and this is just what happens with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Even with that, they are just 1 game away from having the MLB's best record, even if they have struggled slightly against teams with a winning record. They are below 500 in that stat. Either way, they are clearly once again the team to beat in MLB after winning the World Series in 2024. One thing that is a little concerning is the fact that they're actually 23rd in team ERA, but the offense is just so good that it doesn't really matter. They're 1st in the league in runs scored. With guys like Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman looking like MVP candidates like they do every year, mind you, it really doesn't matter what the rest of the lineup looks like, and even with someone like Mookie Betts struggling a little bit this year, it just doesn't matter. This is expected, and that's all you really have to say for the Los Angeles Dodgers. The San Francisco Giants, close. The Giants are on the verge of being a very good baseball team, but something keeps holding them back from breaking out, and I can't really tell what it is. The Giants were hot before trading for Rafael Devers, and somehow they collapsed after acquiring that superstar hitter, which makes zero sense because the Giants really did need extra power and offense. But Devers has been terrible as a Giant. The Giants have a very good bullpen with a very good overall team ERA. They're 3rd in the league league in that stat. However, they're 21st in runs scored, and since the Devers trade, they've gotten even worse. They are only half a game back of a wildcard spot in the National League though, so they certainly aren't out of it. They're actually extremely close to a playoff spot, as close as you can possibly be, but they either need Devers to turn back into Boston Red Sox Rafael Devers, or they need to go out and find another bat, because what they're doing offensively right now is not enough for a team with winning aspirations. The San Diego Padres. Fun. The Padres are always just an incredibly fun team to watch, and if you disagree, you're either a Dodgers or Giants fan, because it's just generational hating to disagree. Fernando Tatis Jr. is the most electric player in the league when he's going right, and the rest of the team is just as fun as well. They've been really good overall and really good at home, which always makes it even more fun when the home park is buzzing. And they're hopefully going to hold on to a wildcard spot and face the Dodgers in the playoffs again, because last year that was one of the most fun series I've ever seen in the postseason. The Padres are just a fun team. The Arizona Diamondbacks. Bad. The Diamondbacks have been very bad, and I don't really know why. Corbin Burns getting a season-ending injury in his first season as a Diamondback is certainly part of why they are bad, but they were also bad before that too. They're still 4th in the league in runs scored. I believe they were 1st place in that stat in 2024, but the pitching has been awful. They are 26th overall in ERA. A lot of this has to do with an all-time bad bullpen, which literally blows every single game that the Diamondbacks are leading. There are also major trade rumors involving around 95% of this team. Eugenio Suarez, Merrill Kelly, Josh Naylor, and more are all seemingly on the trade block, and if those guys get traded, it's only going to get worse for the 2025 Diamondbacks. And finally, the Colorado Rockies. No words can really describe this Colorado Rockies team. They are the most pathetic team ever put on a baseball field. They suck, they stink, and they suck again. They're just so bad at everything. They lead the league in errors, they have the worst ERA in baseball by a dangerous margin, and they're 27th in runs scored, but embarrassingly close to last place in that too. This is the worst baseball team of all time, and it's embarrassing for MLB that this product is running out there for 162 games this season. They're going to break the single-season MLB loss record after the White Sox broke the record last year. Insane.